Look, I've been saying this trade-up talk was just smoke and mirrors, a classic Dallas head fake. But now, there's a specific scenario floating around involving two players I've actually been wanting on this team. And honestly, it's making me second-guess everything I thought I knew about what the Cowboys are doing at pick 12. We're talking about names that could completely change the defensive identity of this franchise, and the cost to move up might actually be something Dallas can stomach without gutting the whole draft. Stick around, because I'm breaking down exactly which two players are in play, where the sweet spot is to trade up, and why one of them gives off a vibe I haven't seen since a certain Hall of Famer was terrorizing offensive lines. What's up, Cowboys? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Cowboys. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So let me just be real with y'all for a second. Every single day, I'm waking up and there's another tweet, another story, another clip about the Cowboys trading up. Like it won't stop. And at first, I was like, okay, this is a publicity stunt. This is a smokescreen. You know how this league works. Teams leak stuff all the time to throw people off. But now I'm starting to think there might actually be something to this, at least around one specific scenario that I think is genuinely plausible. And look, I know some of y'all are already tired of draft content. I get it. You want real moves, real games, real football. But we're within 2 weeks of the draft, and free agency is basically done until after it. So this is what's present right now, and I'm not going to skip over it just because it's not game week. Now, the scenario that was floating around earlier, the one involving trading up and giving away like half the draft, I never rocked with that. Like that was a pie-in-the-sky situation. You're telling me we're going to gut our entire draft capital to move up that far? No, that's not smart football, especially when this team has holes everywhere. I mean, we got so many needs, it's like a golf course out here. So I'm glad that whole thing kind of died down. But this newer scenario, the one centered around Caleb Downs and Rueben Bain, that one I can actually get behind. And here's why. The cost to move up for either of these guys doesn't have to be catastrophic. I'm talking about pick swapping, moving back in the first, maybe grabbing their second, and still getting two players within a reasonable range. A first and a second, I can live with that. What I'm not doing is giving up next year's second on top of everything else. That's when you're reaching. That's when the move stops making sense. But if we're just swapping spots, moving into a slightly better position without torching the whole board, then yes, let's talk about it. The sweet spot to me is somewhere around 9, maybe a move to the Chiefs. That range makes sense. I'm not as sold on moving all the way up to the Browns. That feels like too much. But 9 to the Chiefs, that's a conversation worth having. Now let's actually talk about these two players, because that's the real meat of this whole thing. Let me start with Rueben Bain. Man, I want to do a whole separate video on this dude, because I don't think people are giving him the credit he deserves. And look, before I even get into athleticism or measurables or any of that, I always start in the same place with any player I evaluate: mentality. That's my starting point every single time. Because you can have all the talent in the world, and if your mentality's off, you're never going to reach your ceiling. I've seen it happen over and over again in this league. So when I look at Bain, the first thing that jumps out to me is that dog in him. You know what I'm saying? Like, this dude didn't even get a haircut for the combine. Think about that. Everybody else is out there trying to look sharp, put their best foot forward, make a good impression. Bain showed up like, I'm here to work. That's it. And I loved that. That told me everything I needed to know about who this guy is. He's not worried about optics. He's not worried about looking cute. He's there to ball. And that mentality, that I run this field mentality, that's what separates good players from great ones. Now, I know what some people are going to say. They're going to bring up the size. They're going to say he's not tall enough. His arms aren't long enough. He can't play that position at the NFL level. And look, I hear that. I understand the concern. But here's what I keep coming back to. Aaron Donald. Now, hold on. Before y'all flip out in the comments, I am not calling Rueben Bain the next Aaron Donald. I want to be very clear about that. But what I am saying is that Aaron Donald had all those same measurable concerns coming out. Too small, wingspan not ideal for a DT, and what did he go on to do? First ballot Hall of Famer. The point isn't that Rueben Bain is Aaron Donald. The point is that mentality and motor can override measurables, and this kid has both. When you watch him on film, actually watch him, you don't see a guy who's going to struggle at the next level. You see a guy who wins quick, who's physical, who doesn't give offensive linemen a chance to set their feet. That's exactly what this defense needs. And yeah, I know there are other pass rushers in this draft. I know there's a lot of good players at that position this year. But for what the Cowboys specifically need, someone who can win at the point of attack fast, who plays with intensity every single snap, Rueben Bain checks those boxes in a way that really excites me. Now, let me get to Caleb Downs, because y'all already know how I feel about this man. If Rueben Bain is the dog, Caleb Downs is the brain. And honestly, you need both on a great defense. Caleb Downs is a safety out of Ohio State, and what makes him special isn't just that he's athletic, it's that he sees the game before it happens. He's processing everything on the back end. He's already where the ball is going before the play even develops. That's rare. That's the kind of thing you can't really coach. You either have that football IQ or you don't, and Caleb Downs has it at an elite level. I keep thinking about what a player like that would mean for this defense. You think about guys like Ed Reed, like Kyle Hamilton, like Derwin James, safeties who are so dialed in mentally that the whole defense can just operate at a higher level because of them. Everybody else can pin their ears back and play fast because they trust the guy behind them to have everything lined up. That's what Caleb Downs brings. He would be the brain of this operation. He'd be on the third level, seeing it all, making sure everyone's in position, and that just makes every other piece around him better. If we get Caleb Downs, I'm elated, straight up. I mean, look, if both of these guys are somehow available at 12, we don't even need to have this conversation. You just sit there and take your pick. But the reality is, this draft is unpredictable, and the Cowboys might have to decide whether they want to be aggressive or whether they want to wait and risk getting wiped out. And honestly, that's the part of this whole thing that still got me a little suspicious. Because here's what I keep coming back to. Why would a team telegraph their strategy this openly? Every day there's a new leak. Every day it's another story about Dallas trading up. And I'm sitting here thinking about the year we got Micah Parsons. Remember that? All anyone was talking about was corners. Corner after corner after corner. Cowboys aren't even looking at linebackers. Didn't even bring Micah in for an interview. And then what happened? He was sitting right there and we took him. That's the move. That's vintage Dallas draft deception. So part of me, a real part of me, thinks all this trade-up noise is covering for something else entirely. Maybe they already got a trade-back partner lined up. Maybe there's a player nobody's talking about that they've had circled for weeks. I don't know. But what I do know is that if Rueben Bain or Caleb Downs is there, you take advantage of it, whatever that costs, within reason. These are the kinds of players that change a defense, and this Cowboys team needs that change badly.